Hawkins proposed laying off 50 city workers to help close Orange's $3 million budget gap. The unions then sued. The mayor, now a judge, has temporarily blocked those layoffs. Mayor Eldridge Hawkins is here. Your Honor, it's welcome. Good to see you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let me get this right. You want to lay off 50 public workers in your town because you've got a budget crunch.
Absolutely.
They go to court, and the judge said last Friday, you've got until tomorrow, literally Tuesday, I believe,
yes,
to decide what you're going to do when she makes a final decision on laying off these workers.
That's correct.
Now, let me advance this a little bit. Let's suppose she says, you cannot lay off these workers. Against the law. I'm not going to allow it. Do you declare bankruptcy?
No. The city of Orange Township will not declare bankruptcy. What we would be faced with, though, are exorbitant tax increases, which actually most certainly will cause a problem for our residents. They can't afford a 20% tax increase, which is what we're looking at. So we have to do what we can to get costs under control.
But if that entails laying people off, and the judge, let's suppose the judge doesn't let you lay them off, you're against the wall. I mean, what choices do you have? Okay, raise taxes 20%, but you've got to have in the back of your mind bankruptcy.
I don't think so, because the values that bankruptcy might give you as far as overriding union contracts and things of that nature, all of our bargaining units, with the exception of one, are actually out of contract. So that wouldn't help us. What we actually need in the state of New Jersey, and I imagine many municipalities are in the same situation, are reforms, meaningful reforms to civil service and other rules and regulations that would help us get the costs under control.
Would that help you in the near term?
Absolutely.
But that's a long-term reform, isn't it?
Not necessarily. The governor has proposed a toolkit. Some of those items have been working its way through the legislature. Right now, for example, civil service forces us to lay off the last hired person in a particular title. So your junior officer that may only be making $30,000 or $40,000, we have to let him go. We don't have the ability to select the senior employee that's non-performing that may actually make $120,000 to save 3 or 4 people on the bottom that are more producing.
Reform that rule,
absolutely,
and you have much more flexibility.
Absolutely.
I got you.
That's what we need.
Trace.
Can you explain the judge's rationale in basically wanting you to deny these layoffs?
Well, I don't think that she said she wants us to deny the layoffs. What she stated was that she was going to carry her decision until Tuesday. So tomorrow she will actually come to a final determination, and I imagine she's hoping, as I am, that we will have successful negotiations between last Friday and tomorrow.
But is her logic because these are people under contract, you cannot do this?
No, it's her. She has not made a determination that we can't do it. What she said is that she's just going to stay her decision until Tuesday, again, with the hopes that we'll be able to come to terms. And that's actually my wish as well, because we don't want to see our employees laid off. If we have more employees, we can deliver a better service.
Mayor, all of these seem like, temporary measures. I mean, ultimately, the unions are going to have to work with you, aren't they?
Yes, they have to.
I mean, have you spoken to union leadership to say, guys, we've got to be realistic. We can't keep raising taxes. We can't keep, it's all sort of gimmickry, and it buys us a little bit of time, but the clock is ticking. It's a minute to midnight.
It's not a gimmick, because these are very real problems. Right now, residents are...
But are the unions going to work with you? Do you get a sense that they're willing to take the real kind of pay cuts?
I think that they've taken a hard stance. We have to remember that the unions are just that, bargaining units. Their interests are their members. It's my job as mayor to protect the interests of the residents, and we cannot allow for them to be taxed out of their homes.
But then you should have the right to lay these people off.
I agree with you.
But what unions are we talking about here? Police, fire?
Police, fire, city hall employees. So it's actually a citywide problem. But the reality is that in our budget specifically, police and fire make up 77% of our salary and wages.
Well, how can you avoid layoffs with police and fire department?
Well, you can't. Our hands are tied. It's not something that we want to do, but it's a financial necessity. As hard as I try, I've looked all over. I cannot find a machine that will print money.
How will you tax? Just real quickly, how will you tax? Property tax? Is that how you're going to...
Property tax.
20% increase in property taxes.
That's what we're looking at, and we're trying to avoid that. Because
that should be great for the real estate market.
They can't afford it. They won't pay. They'll leave.
They can't. Absolutely.
They just won't pay.
We have to continue to keep the needs of the residents in mind. We've had plenty of residents that have come to me and said, Mayor, we're trying to choose between paying taxes in our PSE&G bill, taxes and our drug prescription coverage. These are very real issues for real people, and the only way we're going to get them under control is if the unions concede, because we can't take them. They have a right to these things. That's why they call them givebacks and concessions, or we have meaningful reforms.
In other states, cities and municipalities have gotten into trouble, and they've appealed to the state government for a bailout. I'm going to use the word bailout.
Right.
No, maybe that's inaccurate, but they're looking for help, financial help. Will you or have you looked to Trenton, the state capital of New Jersey, for the similar financial help?
Certainly. We regularly interact with the state to try.
Have you asked them for a bailout?
No, we haven't asked for bailout. We've asked for different forms of aid, but I think what we really need to do is bring ratables into the city, and that's where the state has been helpful with helping to give us funding to bridge the gap so that we can redevelop parts of our community.
How much time have you got to sort this out?
Well,
Is it days or weeks?
I would say days, because every day residents are struggling trying to figure out how to pay their bills and survive.
Well, your last word is bankruptcy is not on the table.
It's not an option, and I think that...
You sure of that?
Absolutely.
You could be forced into it?
No. No,
Okay.
I think if you look at it in proper perspective, the costs that we have control over, we're managing very well, and our tax increase, while 20% is significant, it's much lower than that of other communities that are struggling as well.
Rock and a hard place.
Yes.
Where you're at.
But we will survive. Government can't shut down, and we'll deliver service to the residents the best way we can under any circumstance.
Mayor Eldridge Hawkins of Orange, New Jersey. Thanks a lot for joining us, Your Honor.
Thank you.